Hi, and welcome to the Atlanta Film Festival and the Creative Conference. My name is Asad Farooqui, and I have the pleasure of being here with the team of a web series that I had the chance to write and direct called Aversion, which is 6 short episodes about a newly married couple at the therapist's office. And I'd love to introduce you to some of our collaborators, actors, and some of our crew members here. And we shall start with Annam. Go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Annam Rizwan. I'm a producer. I have worked on a couple of small projects in the past, short films, and the biggest project that I've done recently is the web series, Aversion. And I'm currently working on a pre-production for a feature project that we're gonna start next summer 2023.
Thank you. Shivani.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shivani Prasad. I am an Atlanta-based actress, and I was the lead role of Amna in Aversion. Recently, I've worked on a few short films, a couple feature films, and I've booked a few co-star roles here and there on some TV shows. So I'm working on, making a name for myself here in Atlanta, and it's been a really fun ride. I'm really happy to be here today with everyone.
Thank you, Shivani. Nassim.
Hi everyone, my name is Nassim. I am also an Atlanta-based actress. I played the role of Zara in the web series, and I've also worked with Asad on a short film called Mabruk, and it did air at the Atlanta Film Festival. I also have some co-star and guest star credits in different television shows, and also some commercial credits.
Thank you. Ala.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ala Zuba. I am a Yemeni American Hardison filmmaker, so many slashes. I am the DP of this web series. This is my first time working with Asad, and I'm currently just kind of DP in commercial music videos, and hopefully going into short film soon. And thank you for having me.
Thanks, Ala. And Rabinder.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rabinder. I'm based in Atlanta, too. My other profession, I'm a pediatric therapist. I decided to come to film about 3 years ago, and I've literally dived in, and this is what I've been doing consistently. I have worked on commercials, industrials, done some short films. In fact, I did a short film before COVID hit with Asad, the Mabruk, that was aired on ATLFF last year. And I was a mother in that one, and I'm a mother in this one. So I guess that's where category is where I am. I'm loving this process and enjoying meeting everybody, the new people, the artist group.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So quickly, Aversion, as I mentioned, is a 6-episode web series, roughly about 6 to 8 minutes each. And it's based on a short film that I directed about 3 years ago and produced it called Broke, which also played the Atlanta Film Festival. And it had a pretty good response from the community. And this is pre-COVID, so we were actually in a movie theater. We were in the plaza. And we just decided to develop it a bit more. And we thought that the 2 characters were worth exploring, and it's worth getting out of the therapist's office. So this web series does exactly that. You get to see exactly what this couple is talking about, what their versions are of the story. And yeah, with that being said, I'd love to have, one of you chime in about what that experience was like for you. I'll mention it was an extremely low budget web series. We were strapped for cash, no joke. But I think that's just something that all of us are kind of used to at this point, being people of color, women of color, and, artists of color. So it's something that we just kind of have to figure out. We have to rely on each other for. But with that being said, I plan to talk very little here. So please take it away, one of you. Go for it. Shivani, good.
I felt that coming. honestly, the experience of working on a version was just really comforting is the word that I like to use, because I felt so comfortable in my space, you know, with working with everyone. I felt like I was in, and I was in a common community, right? Working with other people, you know, the same culture or similar culture. And that's really what I really loved so much about working on set with everyone, is that there was just the commonality of that. Um, and I just felt really comfortable. I felt like, you know, there was open conversation. I felt like we could discuss things, we could talk in depth, we could go on and on about, you know, like our histories and the way that we were brought up and our traditions and our cultures and how they're all interconnected, because there was that commonality of culture between all of us. And also that shared experience of being people of color and women in the industry. And you know, there was so many spots and moments in the script where I was like, wow, okay, yeah, I connect with that a lot. So it was just a really eye-opening experience, very comfortable. I've never felt more comfortable on set before, because I felt like I was with, you know, my people, you know, people that understand me and the way that I was brought up. Because who you are today is influenced so much by your culture, the choices that you make, how you act, you know, just the way that you carry yourself. And I think that having that, you know, background on set was just a really fun and great experience, at least for me, that I have not yet experienced until, you know, a version.
Who else? NASA.
Oh.
I'll just call.
I agree with Shivani. You know, I've worked with Asad and Annam before, and I really, really enjoy working with them. Like, they're a huge inspiration for me. I love how they just try to use every resource they have to make art, you know. And we've had like tons of conversations about how expensive filmmaking is. And I feel inspired because they have shown me that, you know, things don't have to be super, super expensive to put out a decent project. You know, it just has to be, you know, 80% there, you know, like it doesn't have to be like this high-end production. Like, people will watch, especially like in the age of social media, you know, people are recording projects on their phones, you know. And so I love being a part of every production that they do. And this production in particular, like, I was excited to play a character that I don't usually get to play. Like, this girl was like entitled and stuck up, you know, and I want to play characters like that. I want to play characters that aren't stereotypical. And like Asad made a lot of different characters that, you know, we don't normally get to play. You know, we're so used to getting auditions like girl number one or terrorist number one, or, you know, which Mabruk kind of touches on that, like your character, Asad. So I don't know. I'm always excited to work with you guys, and you know, I want to keep making art together, because I know that I was listening to a casting director talk the other day, and she was just saying how work begets work. So like, when we create these opportunities for ourselves, it just creates other opportunities. For example, we're here right now talking on a panel, and the only reason we're here is because Assad is doing the work, you know, writing stories, and using every resource that he has, and it's creating opportunities for us. So I just feel really inspired and like thankful to be part of this process.
Thanks, Nelson. Allah.
Oh, okay, I thought it would be the last one since I'm the only one. Well, I guess I'm just gonna speak in the perspective of being as a DP, you know. As I definitely agree with both of you guys. What you said is creating the opportunities and the storytelling that are missing because you just said it yourself, as you mentioned earlier, brown people. We're brown people, we don't see enough stories. And I think for me, when I read the script, I laughed so hard to the point I was like, wait, is that brown people going through therapy? Okay, I need to be part of this project. And I think I reached out. I said, we need to work something out. We need to work out. So I flew from Virginia to Georgia. It was so fun experience, definitely. And personally, as a DP, as a woman myself, that was, I think, the inspiring because I was able to shoot something that I can understand, something that I can relate, something that I know what Asad wants in terms of vision, because he's like, okay, this is about brown people, this is about Muslim people, what you're looking in terms of camera. Even though it's a comedy, it really matters when you speak to the person. And I think, just like I said, it was really interesting, and I was very lucky, and I'm grateful that you guys welcomed me and brought me to the project, you know. And I know that is not going to be the end for us. There's going to be many more. I know that. Hopefully, inshallah. And I mean, that's what I can say.
Thanks, Ala. Thanks so much. Rabinder.
I guess I'm going to chime in on what everybody has said. So this is my second project with Asad. So it says that, you know, like we were talking about building, you know, contacts and, you know, building relationships. It just proves that if you do good work and you pull yourself into projects that, you know, touch your heart. And of course, these are stories from our background. And so I do want to relate to, you know, I want to work for my projects along with American projects too. And I really appreciate that Asad and Annam called me again this time, because it made me feel that they liked something I did or do. And at the same time, I really appreciate their professionalism. And like, you know, it was mentioned earlier, on a short budget, how well it's like done, and how they carry out everything is very professional. And for me, it's very important that I'm respected, and the work is professional, and the project is something that relates to my heart. So I really love meeting you all. Every time this time was the first time, you know, connecting with Shivani, but this is how we're going to grow. And of course with Allah too. So it was really nice.
Thank you. And Annam.
It feels really good to hear this feedback from everyone. And I think this is one of the reasons why, going back to everything that you guys said, this is one of the reasons why I pushed Asad so much to create a project like this, so we can create opportunities where, you know, we're not having, you know, what Nassim was saying about having those roles where you're just like, you know, a character on the screen for 1 or 2 seconds. We want to be able to create these opportunities for ourselves. So we have to work together. And I'm so glad that we were able to do that. And that's, I think, the common theme that I'm hearing in everyone's feedback. So, you know, regardless of it being a small budget, we pushed really hard to make sure that this project finishes. And I'm just really happy and glad that we were able to make it happen. And I loved working with all of you.
I do want to mention there were 2 people who weren't able to make it. Our production designer, Jen Allen, who did a phenomenal job, and you'll hopefully everyone gets to see that. I actually learned how much of an impact production design can have, because you know, with our budgets, like it's something that we don't invest in, and when we did, obviously on a very low budget, we get someone like Jen, it just, you know, it added so much to it. It's added so much to the look and feel, and Ala would probably second that as well. And then Sarah Imler is her last name. I forget. Okay, so Sarah started out as a PA and then ended up being a gaffer and played a multitude of roles, because we had someone who had to drop out because of sickness, and she came in and actually ended up doing 3 or 4 different kinds of roles. And she's from Linda Burns's PA Academy. So I do want to give a shout out to that. They do great work. Do take that class with Linda Burns. And I wish both of them could be here to speak about it, but they had prior engagements. And again, it just goes to show how many wonderful female collaborators we had on set, on crew, and in the acting department for our web series. And I think it says a lot, because that's one thing that even when we shot Mabruk, our collaborators said the same thing. I remember our DP telling us I'd never been on a set like this before, with this many diverse faces and voices and things of that nature. So I do want to mention both of them. And with that being said, I really hope we get to see the web series soon. I hope it does the festival circuit, and hopefully it'll play Atlanta, hopefully next year. Knock on wood, no pressure on Atlanta Film Festival. And with that, I just like to actually open the conversation up more about what you guys are doing, some of the difficulties that you have faced, as actors, as a DP, as a producer, and what it's like, number one, to be a woman, but then also to be a woman of color. It's like a double whammy. And I know Nassim I've known for a while, so she's obviously struggled with this. So I'm sure she has a great story to tell here as well. So with that being said, I'd love for someone to chime in and talk about the greater picture apart from the web series. Nassim.
Okay. I don't think I mentioned this in my introduction, but I also make my own projects. I've produced and directed 2 music videos, and my goal is to make another music video this year and hopefully a short film. We'll see. I would say the biggest challenge for me as a filmmaker is, I think for most independent filmmakers, it's the same thing, is finances. It can be really hard, and finding the right people to collaborate with, that can be really hard. I think that, one of my goals this year is to get a full-time position, because I really, like we were saying earlier, like I really think that the best shot we have as people of color is to make our own content. We can wait around and do the whole auditioning route, but sometimes it really feels like a waste of time, because I've also worked on the casting side of things, and I've seen how tons of actors can, turn in their best work, and directors and producers already have someone in mind. They will make a simple phone call and just offer the role on the spot. So I find that frustrating, because I am on the acting side, and I just really want, if I'm going to do all this work for free, because auditioning is work, I might as well be putting all that energy into something that is going to create opportunities for me and other people, right? And then, just to maybe share a little bit about acting, it's hard. Like, you turn in a lot of auditions and you don't hear anything back. And, people don't respect your time a lot of the times. So I feel like for me, I want to try a different strategy. And to me, that is filmmaking. I'll just say one more thing. Tyler Perry is like a huge inspiration for me, just because that's exactly what he did. Hollywood basically kept him out. He is just now starting to be recognized for a lot of his work. And I know that, everybody doesn't watch his stuff, but it doesn't really matter. The point is that he's been able to create this empire and, launch so many people's careers, including his own. And I just want to follow in those footsteps and just see how far I can go if I have more creative control over my career. That's all I was going to say.
Wonderful. Who else? Shivani, you want to go?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to piggyback what, after what, Nasim said is that I definitely really relate to trying to own your narrative, right? No one else is going to pave this way, no matter the hardships that you face, but you. So whether that means, finding the right position within the industry, or making the connections, or creating your own work and creating opportunities for yourself, do what you have to do to make it in your own way. And I think a lot of you know artists are starting to do that, that we're not waiting for opportunities anymore, we're creating our own. And I love the idea of creating our own path and narrative, and not waiting on the industry to discover us, right? Or writing for like the right opportunity or the right timing. And I will say that, for my position as an actress, something that I've noticed, especially starting out, is that I've really struggled for casting directors to see past my Indianness, right? The first thing they see when they see me is that I'm Indian. And it's hard for them sometimes to picture me as more of, maybe a nuanced role, whether it's the love interest, or a really successful business person, or whatever that looks like, or maybe the bad girl, the mean girl. The first thing I get looked at is she's Indian, right? Versus maybe, people who are white don't really have that struggle because they've dominated the industry for so long. No one sees someone for their whiteness. They see them just as, a everyday artist. And so that's something that I think that I've personally been struggling with as an actor, is people seeing past my ethnicity, past my race, because while it is a huge part of me and I'm proud of it, it's not everything that I am. And I don't always want to be known just for that. I want it to be a part of me and so much more. So I think that's something, as an artist, that I've personally been struggling with. And honestly, at this point, I have been submitting for roles that say white female, because I'm just like, you know what? Why not? Why not? If they see me and they like me, they're gonna ask me to audition, and other than that, they just won't, and that's totally fine too. I'm okay with the rejection. Like, you don't have to invite me to audition, but every single white female role I see out there, I'm gonna submit my name to it so that you see my face, right? So that you see, it's a reminder. Hey, this role could be something else. It doesn't have to be just, another a white person. And you know what? Like, I have so many white friends in the industry. They're amazing. They're awesome. And they've all been so supportive. So like, no hate whatsoever to that, to them. But I do think that we have a lot of work in the industry to continue to do in terms of diversifying productions. We're heading in the right direction, and I'm really proud to say that. But I think there's a lot of improvements that can still be made. And moving forward, I don't want to just be a pawn in the diversification of a production. I want to be so much more. I want to be the leading role. I want to be, a character that you remember, versus someone in passing, or like, the one-liners and things like that. And there's a point where each artist has to go through certain steps, to start getting those auditions. And I'm more than happy to put in the work every single day. That is absolutely something that's ingrained in all of us. No one wants a free pass. But I think just creating more roles that aren't just, supporting, more lead roles for Asian, for Black, for Hispanic cultures and ethnicities, I think is really the direction that we need to be heading in. And like I said, we're working on it, but we're not quite there yet. So that's kind of the struggle that I've been seeing so far, something that I've been experiencing. But also, whenever I get on set, I do my job. At the end of the day, you do your job, you get in there, you book the role, you do your part, and that's how you make good impressions, is just by keeping your head up high and making the change in the industry yourself, by creating those opportunities.
So does your agent submit you for the white female roles now, or?
She doesn't. No, they don't. they submit me to roles that are either my ethnicity or, you know, roles that are open up to all the ethnicities.
Yeah.
So that is, you know, expanding. Yeah. But for me,
Yeah.
whenever I do self-submit, I definitely submit to those, you know, white female roles for sure. You're gonna see my face. I'm gonna make sure you see my face.
Well, that's why we cast you in a version. I mean, we thought you were white this entire time. Like, why would you
Right?
think?
I mean, couldn't have been anything else.
Great. Thanks, Shivani. Ala, talk about like being a DP, a woman of color, a Muslim woman with a hijab on, and also, as you mentioned, hard of hearing. Like, talk about that. Talk about being a DP.
You want me to talk about like in general or this project particular?
Oh no, in general. In general, like what your struggles may have been and how you're still trying to kind of establish your footprint as a DP and try to get more films as a DP, as you were mentioning.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a challenge. I mean, if you think about it, filmmaking in general is a challenge by itself. You don't need, without being a person of color and all that. And then being a person of color, a woman of color, a hijab, like you mentioned, and a hard of hearing, that's so many identities that I carry. But, oh, sorry about that sound. But I think it's, the most challenging part about being is that there's not enough of us. There's not enough of community of people of color, like brown people, Muslim people, to the point that we can support each other. I think that's one of the challenges that we need in order to uplift each other, in order to really build the stories that we need to tell. And I'm still struggling right now because I'm still figuring out, like, where do I go? How can I go? How can I make myself exposed in a way that people can let me or trust me with my own vision, my perspective that I can put into the table, because I'm not here to tell my own vision. I'm here to serve you guys, to serve the vision that you want, and I can interpret it in a way that could benefit this, you know, as a DP myself. And I think I don't have a clear answer because I'm still in that journey, and I'm still figuring out a lot of things, trying to put it, and hopefully we can reach out somehow. I believe it will, because I know if you think about it nowadays, they need new stories. We are people are becoming exposed, and I think the social media is helping us, that we are exposing each other. We are being there, doing your own content. Like you said, Tyler Perry creating own thing. I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this all the same thing. So yeah.
Thank you. Rabinder, talk about your journey as an actor and the kinds of roles that you're looking for, as you mentioned, not the mother ones, and you know how that.
I have nothing against being a mother, a grandmother, or a mother-in-law, anything associated with mother. But I'm also a human being who's very smart, intelligent, who's carried on many careers simultaneously. So like everybody, Naseem and Shivani has been mentioning, I do appreciate being offered roles in that position where I'm a responsible housewife, but I can also play a lawyer. I'm definitely also been encouraging, telling my agent, since I have a medical background, that I can definitely knock out being a doctor or a therapist or something. So that part I can see, but I want to play roles that have power, that say something. And also age is definitely not a factor anymore. So yeah, I can play a lead role too. I can be an NCIS or something, Criminal Minds, it's not there anymore. But you know, something like a cop or something who can carry out her prayer, you know, precinct. So I foresee myself in those places, but I'm also going through a journey. I keep saying I'm taking baby steps at my age. I've gone backward in my career. I had a very booming pediatric practice, doing well. And now I've come into a place where I'm taking my baby steps and progressing. And I've seen a lot of progress in me. It's just a matter of being connecting with the right people seeing your work, appreciating, and then trusting you to offer you those roles is where my struggle is right now, is proving myself that I can handle, you know, a recurring or a lead role rather than just be a co-star kind of position. And I do get offered mainly, of course, Indian, but also Hispanic. So I've been working very hard on learning Spanish. And I told my agent I'm proficient in Spanish. So now she offers me for things that are fluent in Spanish. So I'm like, okay, I'm getting there. I'll get there, but definitely you get categorized into based on how you look. And that's like Shivani said, it's just something like, why? Why can you have a brown or a Indian super smart lady who can just carry out any role perfectly well? So that's my struggles. And also I want to be behind the scene. And so I've created a company, production company, because I just don't want to just be acting, which is my passion, but I also want to be behind the scenes and, you know, be in the production part and do that side of the camera too.
Great. And Annam, do you have anything to say about being an independent producer and trying to get some of these projects off the ground?
Yeah, just hearing everyone, you know, talking about the struggles of finding roles for themselves, and what Ala was saying about trying to find projects to work on, you know, this tells me how important it is for me to continue to produce these type of projects. But so far, like, I haven't worked on a lot of projects, but I do feel like I've struggled with finding the money. And a lot of times, and it just comes back to, you know, like what Nassim was saying, having a full-time job and then using that job to be able to fund your projects. So, you know, at this point, my idea has been to, okay, just, you know, continue to produce these projects, hopefully market them, and then be able to find funding to make more projects, because I want to continue to do this. But the biggest struggle for me as an independent producer has been to be able to find the money, and then when you're working on a limited budget, to be able to find people who are going to want to work on that limited budget. It's not easy, and you know, it's a very difficult conversation to have, because I understand you're asking people for their time, and a lot of times, you know, people have full-time jobs. They have to take time off of their jobs where, you know, they might end up not getting paid for that day, to come do more unpaid work. So, you know, I absolutely, you know, those conversations are very difficult, and I want to get to a point where I'm making projects where, you know, big enough where I'm able to pay everyone and, you know, just appreciate everybody for their work, uh, monetarily as well. So yeah, I think that's what my biggest struggle has been, to be able to find the money and just, you know, continue to work on small budget projects.
Okay, so I think what everyone is kind of alluding to is we have to create our own projects, right? To create our own roles.
Yeah.
But then it's such a pain in the butt to get money to create those projects, to create those roles. You know, we're brown, and, you know, we understand it's not like there's no one in the brown community who doesn't have, I mean, there's money in the brown community, let's be serious. There's money in the Muslim community, there's money in the brown community, South Asian community. And I've personally taken some meetings which have led to nothing eventually, but it's more about like kind of like stroking someone's ego more so than anything else. And how much of a responsibility do you think that the community itself has, right, for its representation? Because we have all complained, and our complaints are valid, about, you know, look, the way we're being portrayed is garbage. This is not how we are. It's not authentic. And I completely agree with all of that. But my thing is, the portrayals are coming from people who are not brown. And it's money that is coming from those people as well. They're putting up their own money, or they are finding it somewhere within their own community to tell, you know, a South Asian story, for example. So if we want to tell our own stories, how come no one from our community actually puts up the funding and backs it up? They'll all make the complaints just like we do, that, oh, well, this is not right, and this is not how we are, and this is against us, but they won't take out their checkbook ever. So yes, Nassim, yeah.
Can I say something about this? Can I respond to what? Okay. You know, I've had this conversation a lot, because I've experienced those same frustrations. And I hear what you're saying, like how much responsibility do our communities have to basically get us out of the situation? And I've just really come to the conclusion, Asad, that it's our responsibility. Like it's, and this is the way, and this is the same mindset I have about, you know, white people in Hollywood. You know, I know we complain a lot, like, why do you guys keep making these stories about us, you know, like this, right? And the conclusion I've come down to is that it's an unrealistic expectation to ask people to share wealth. People don't want to share wealth at the end of the day. They just don't. They don't want to give money. They don't want to give you an opportunity, because that means one less opportunity for them and less money in their pockets. So to tell people like, hey, let us have a seat at the table, you know, if we're talking about white Hollywood, the answer is no, because I don't want to share my money with you. And then when you put the expectation on the community, like, hey, can you guys help us so that we don't have these stories? At the end of the day, those people are not passionate about filmmaking. They're just not. They like to watch entertaining stories and that's it. Like they're not interested in being investors. So this is why it's 10 times harder for people of color, because we have to do the extra work, because we have to get a full-time job just to make our own content and get our foot in the door. There, like you said, there is money out there and people hear us talking about this all the time, but they're not willing to write a check. So at the end of the day, you have to come to the conclusion, you just want to complain, you don't want to help, right? So it's on me to figure this out. If Tyler Perry had to live in his car and figure out how the heck do I get out of this mess and make it to the other side, we can do it too. It's not fair, it's not fun, it sucks, but that's the reality. You know what I mean? And so many other people have had to do it, have had to do that. What I will say is it might be possible if people who share the same passion, because I know with me, like I've tried to, like, I'm half Puerto Rican and half Persian. I know with me, I've tried to like recruit the Latino community so many times, like, let's make stuff together. Let's make it. Oh, well, what's your budget? How much are you going to pay me? I'm like, I'm an independent filmmaker. I don't put that expectation on other independent filmmakers to pay everyone, because it's just not realistic. Like if we're going to get out of this mess, then we have to be willing to make sacrifices and collaborate, you know what I mean? But sometimes it's hard to find who those passionate people are, like who's willing to do the work when there is no immediate payoff, right? So that's why I just say, like, it's on us. It's on us. The writer, the filmmaker, the producer, the director, it's on us to make it happen. And it is so hard and it's so much work. But I really do believe that if you keep at it and you keep going, eventually, when your next project gets screened, like someone is going to notice. I'll share one quick story. For example, I know someone who I met at a networking event. He was on his 12th short film, number 12, right? His film got into certain like reputable film festivals, and then it got nominated for an NAACP award, okay? That's something he did himself, because he's perseverant. He's going to keep going, you know what I mean? And that's really what it takes, like perseverance and hard work. Ava DuVernay had a full-time job when she made her first 5 feature films. Ava DuVernay had a full-time job when she made her first 5 feature films. It sucks what we have to go through. You know, if we had the connections, if we had the money, if we had the access, then it'd be a walk in the park, right? But we don't. We're starting from the bottom. And that's the level of work ethic it takes.
Nassim, you're absolutely right about everything that you just said. It definitely is. I feel like, it kind of works against us. So we have to keep at it. So we can't just stop at our second, third project. We have to continue hoping that somebody's going to see it. Somebody's going to like it. Somebody's going to want to, give us the money, like you said, to be able to create, something bigger. So that's what we're banking on as well as we continue to work on these projects. And I'm so thankful to everyone who is collaborated with me on the past 3 projects that I've worked, giving me the time, understanding that it was low budget, this is how we're going to build that community and, just continue to keep at it. Absolutely. I 100% believe that. And I promise you, I will continue to do this and I will continue to push filmmakers like Asad and other filmmakers in the industry to create these projects for you guys.
Who else? Someone else want to chime in?
Yeah, I'd love to. I totally agree with everything Nassim said. I mean, it's really all about the hustle, and it's about working hard. It's about creating opportunities for yourself. You have to get out there and make your voice heard. I think I have some like differing opinions, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I feel about it, if I'm being quite honest, because, being in the South Asian community, and the Muslim community, I think there's a few conflicting feelings that you have within yourself, right? Like on one hand, you have this passion for film, and then on the other hand, you're so rooted in culture that, in the past and still right now, it's almost looked down upon to be so active in the South Asian, in the film industry when you're a South Asian person. Like it's not always super celebrated, right? So when Indian kids come out and say, I want to be an actor, your parents go, that's funny. Now go back to school, right? It's not exactly something that, Indian parents or Islamic parents are super gung-ho about, right? So, it's something that we're working on in terms of becoming a bit more open-minded, a bit more progressive, and allowing your kids to really, and adults to explore these passions that they have. And once they see that they're working hard and that they're successful and that they're doing things, then they become a bit more open-minded and they're like, okay, well, since you're doing well, maybe we'll continue to support you in this. But I kind of think that's a lot of the reason why we don't necessarily open up our checkbooks too, is because it's never been super common, at least like in South Asian communities, at least in Hollywood, to be very featured. Now we have Bollywood, and that's a whole other story. But also things that are okay in Bollywood, or in Hollywood aren't okay in Bollywoods, right? So there's that difference of what we can really do. But I will say that at the end of the day, like I think it's really just about really just putting yourself out there and continuing to put in the work, create opportunities, write what you want to write, design what you want to design. I think that we have to really try to like erase what's been told about us, in history, and try to rewrite our stories. I think that's what it's really about. And I think that moving forward, there's always so much better that we can do, in every sense. And I always try to make as many connections as I can, because if I'm starting to become successful, I want everyone around me to become successful too. I want us to all have opportunities like that.
So
You have to, sorry, Asad, I just wanted to add one quick thing.
Yes,
I do agree with Shivani saying, I feel like once we see enough of these projects, out there, I feel like people will open up from our community and open up their checkbooks as well. So we just need to, put in a little bit of that work in the beginning. And I feel like we're going to see some reaction in the next couple of years.
Absolutely.
I do see that happening.
And I feel like we need to promote ourselves. We need to find opportunities how to promote our projects, even if it costs us a little bit of money. I know money is something we don't want to talk about, but that is also should be a little bit a part of our budget when we're building a budget for a film, because promotion is everything. So we have to promote not just our community. Apparently that doesn't really work, but like maybe start on a state level and then go from there kind of thing. And also somebody in the team could also be proactively, trying to be finding financial investors simultaneously or throughout the project. Because there are people there. We don't have to reach only Southeast Asian people. I think there are very passionate people. I don't know why we have to reach only our community because it's our projects. There are very many, I think because the awareness is there, it's coming, it's still in the process. If you have a good project, I seriously believe it's a good project and they believe in you and the team, they will pay. And you just have to know where to go for it.
Yeah.
And another quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Rabinder.
Another quick comment I will make that I do appreciate that we are making projects. This is just my eye view and it may not be necessarily, I'm not a producer director yet. So is that we do make projects that, talk about our society or societal thing, but we also need to bring awareness. And that's what I feel like I need to do is that we are changing too, that we have changed with time. So the stereotypical attitude or attributes that are being contributed to us, I don't think we are doing projects to portray anything different. We are just encouraging, whether it's comedy or drama, we're still talking about between us, what's happening between us, what's happening with the mother-in-law, the daughter, and this and that and that. Why don't we talk about how we have changed? What happens in the household, in today's household, how they may be struggling and how they are trying to integrate. And that's just another way of could be a way of bringing awareness that we are not just Southeast Asian or Indian or Muslims. We have an identity and we do believe whichever society we live in, we integrate very well. Actually, that's the thing. We integrate so well that we become passive and we need to, get out of that box. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, Shivani.
And just in terms of whose responsibility it is, I think we all hold responsibility in some way, shape, or form, right? As our communities, respective cultures and ethnicities, we have a responsibility to make our voices heard and to put in the work. But then also there's a huge responsibility that falls on the industry, right? Where notoriously, they have casted certain people in certain roles that haven't necessarily fit the bill or the cultural standard. And I think that the industry has a responsibility to listen to us, to be open, to be accepting. And a great example that I can just throw out there is season 2 of Bridgerton, if you've seen it, right? Shonda did an amazing job of capturing South Asian culture, right? There was the haldi night, there was the oiling of the hair, there was, Didi and Bon, and there was so much there. There was the responsibility of, the older sister feeling like she had to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders just to support her mom. And that is so prevalent in our culture, right? And so I think having producers and directors that listen to their actors and listen to the communities and take feedback and write the scripts to incorporate and listen versus just following blindly on their research, right? Because anyone can write anything on the internet. And so I think we all have a responsibility, the industry to listen, us to make our voices heard, us to put in the work to create the opportunities. But I think industry responsibility falls on all of us in different ways.
I can jump and add to all that. I think it also answers to the previous question about this whole challenges because, yes, we do have to work hard and it's about consistency and all that. But if you think about it, it's also about if you think we are person of color, right? We're people of color. We always think that in our mind. And sometimes we tend to think like, oh, because I'm a person of color, I might not have the access or the resources like a white person has. And also that we're women. We're just not women of color. There's so many challenges. And sometimes we tend to think like this and we are like, okay, we can't. We're not going to be able to do it. Because it's just not that it's not going to be able to do it. It's just that we cannot bear the idea of thinking like, oh, because I'm a person of color, because I'm this and this and this, it's not going to be able. So, because like you all said, you have to focus getting a full-time job. We still have so many other things that we need to do in order to have a life aside of becoming a filmmaker. being a mom. Like I think Annam is a mother. Oh yeah, you're a mom too. I mean, you have so many other responsibilities. You're thinking about that. You're thinking about so many worried about raising your kids in this country, and then you're thinking about job, and then thinking about telling the stories that you need to tell. It's so much effort that it's emotionally, we get exhausted with all that. So it's really a lot. And I think that's one of the challenges that we face as a female filmmakers in this industry. And yes, we need to continue. Yeah, we just need to keep going. And I just want to say, like, I agree, but the idea that we're just thinking it alone is exhausting.
I'm glad that we built this community, and we're going to continue to work on projects and create more projects for each other. And I also wanted to add, Shivani, I was hoping someone would bring up Bridgerton season 2. I don't know if anyone else has watched it, but yes, that is big progress. I was very impressed with what they've done, and it looks like they've done their research. So we're, like we said, moving in the right direction, and I really hope that we see some change in the next couple of years.
Quick question. I know that the 3 actors on here are represented by agencies, and I just wanted to ask how important it is to be repped as an actor, and if that has opened up more opportunities for you, or you're still kind of scavenging and trying to find roles as you go. So we'll start with NASA.
I mean, having representation is huge. I mean, I don't think I'd have access to television and studio film and, national commercial auditions if I didn't have an agent. I mean, I guess I could act as my own agent and submit to casting offices, but that's a lot of work. I think it's really important, but no one is going to work as hard as you. Like, no one is going to want to go far in your career as much as you do. So just because I have an agent, that doesn't mean that I'm not networking. I am networking. I am making my own content. I am, networking on social media with directors and producers. Sometimes I know, even when I was at the beginning, when I first signed with my agency, I was still self-submitting to projects, and I know Shivani mentioned that she's submitting herself to white girl roles, and I love that. I think no one's going to care for your career as much as you know what I mean? So it's really what you make of it. Like, having representation is huge, but you still have to put yourself out there, like through making content on social media or filmmaking or networking or whatever. You still have to put yourself out there. Like, even with this project, the web series, like, I was so happy I didn't have to audition because we have such a great relationship. You know what I mean? Like, that is the power of building relationships and doing your own work outside of your agency, right? I do want to say one thing about what we were talking about with representation. I love seeing, what's the word? Like, I love seeing our cultures like represented on television, but just in film, but just like Shivani, she's submitting to roles that aren't like just about ethnicity and culture, right? Like, for me, like, the ultimate representation would be playing exhilarating characters that transcend stereotypes, that transcend ethnicity, transcend culture, transcend language, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm an actress. I don't want to play myself. I want to play other characters. I want to play other people. I don't want to just play a Latina, like a stereotypical Latina, or like very on the nose, like, okay, I'm Hispanic, like I'm in your face, right? And same thing with the Middle Eastern roles, or not playing either of those things at all. Like there are brown people who live in Europe. You know, I would like to play a brown person who has a British accent. You know, we're everywhere. We're not just in the Middle East or in the United States, like we're everywhere, right? So it's like, I want to play a spy. I want to play a fashion icon. I want to play, you know, like what Rabinder was saying, like a powerful character, you know. I want to play a CEO, you know. There's so many things, but like sometimes I feel like Hollywood, especially white Hollywood, is so obsessed with making us play our stereotype or just putting our culture on blast. And it's like, no, I want to be in the same stories as you guys. Like, I don't want everything to be about my identity. I want to play people that are outside of my identity, you know, because that's the beauty of acting, not playing yourself, right? So I know for me, like as I continue to make my own content, I'm going to put characters that go against my type. Like the last music video I made, I played a rock star and I played a modern Marilyn Monroe. You know what I mean? There's these two filmmakers, Bila Falal and Adil El Arbi. I love them because they're an example of directors that are like, I'm not there. They did do Miss Marvel, and that is South Asian like superhero, and I'm really excited about it. But they're also directing projects like Batgirl, and they cast a Latina as Batgirl. You know what I mean? So they're so open to putting people like us in roles that are not like traditional and stereotypical, right? And they also did Bad Boys for Life, you know, and they cast a lot of Hispanic people in that role as well, those roles as well. And of course, you know, the main characters were there too. But anyways, I'm just trying to say that we deserve more than just playing ourselves as creators.
So Shivani, can you start sending Nassim the roles that you're talking about?
100%. Yeah, no, I totally agree with everything Nassim said. I mean, we got to chat a little bit at, you know, when we were filming a version, and we got to connect on all of these things on how, you know, we are so much more than, you know, what casting sometimes cast types us as, you know, or typecast us as. So, you know, I really want to see more nuanced roles for, you know, people of color, because, you know, like Nassim said, like we're not just meant to play ourselves, but so much more. And that's how the world is built. We're not built in these little boxes where we can only do these certain things. No, we are we're everywhere. So I'm excited for that change, and I hope that, you know, we continue to move in like an upwards direction. I will say in terms of representation, you know, I am so blessed and to have representation. One, it's you know, something that I'm so grateful for. It definitely does help to open doors. My agents have been able to connect me with opportunities that I wouldn't have access to on my own if I wasn't repped with an agent. So I am grateful to them, and I do still self-submit and still work really hard to establish my own connections, like Nassim mentioned too, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about the hustle. You know, it doesn't just end with, you know, your agency submitting you. You've got to do the work on your own, right? They can get your foot in the door, but it's on you to get there. And it's their names that's on your backs too. So it's really important to, you know, just to keep pushing and to do good work and to keep training as hard as you can. But yes, I mean, my agents, I've been really grateful that they have such an open dialogue. You know, I've asked them, and we've had phone conversations, and I've been so grateful that they even have the time to do that, right? That they can talk to me, and you know, we've had discussions about, you know, like what's casting right now, and you know, I've been receiving these roles, and I'd like to start going for these roles. And I think when you have agents that are on your side and that they listen to you and you have that open dialogue, that's the best agent you can have. And I've been really blessed to have agents that are really open to listening and putting my name out there. I know that they're submitting me to everything that they can, but you know, at the end of the day, like right now with where we are at in the industry, there's still, you know, a plethora of white roles, right? So, you know, I may be getting auditions and I'm super grateful for that, but it might not be as much as someone who's white that's getting. And while, like, you know, we're working on that, I'm still grateful that I have that in, you know, with my agent to get, you know, the roles that I can as of right now, but then still do the work on the side to keep submitting to other projects and connecting with you know, other forces in the industry. So yeah, I mean, I think having representation does make all the difference. And there are so many, you know, outlets in Atlanta to get connected with that, you know, you can kind of get your foot in the door with an agent. There's a lot of different resources. You know, Scene 360 at Get Studios, that's like a really great, Get Scene Studios is a really great way to get your foot in the door there. And honestly, just connecting with people. Every time I'm on set, I get everyone's Instagrams, everyone's numbers, because I am so determined to build a community and just to connect with people, just to talk, and to talk about our shared experiences too. So yeah, it's definitely a wild ride.
Rabinder?
I think Naseem and Shivani has covered it all. So all as actors, like they mentioned, agent does 10% of job, and you're supposed to say do 90%, and that's exactly what they're doing. And it seems like most actors who are proactive and want to build their career or get somewhere do that, and that's exactly what I do. I have an agent, but also because I am just who I am, I always submit on my own. I'm not going to stop submitting on my own. It may not be at this point that I may get the roles that I want, but I'm trying to go to the next step. But I'm going to be knocking at the casting directors, and so it means I'm determined I'm going to do that. There's no way the agent is looking at me for submitting at this point. I can clearly see through them. I have no hard feelings against them, but it's just that it's not going to happen. So I am going to take it the reins, like they say. And but I'm also building contacts, networking. Every time you meet somebody, you try to stay in touch, doing the same old hustle. Agencies are great, but in my case, I won't say that's because of anything. They're wonderful people, but I just feel like you need to take your career to the next level. You have to work for it. And that's how it is.
Well, with that being said, any parting words of positivity, affirmation? You know, I'd love everyone to, you know, say one last thing before we finish up here, because I think we've covered a lot, and we've gotten, you know, everyone's kind of feelings about the industry and kind of where they are in terms of the work, which I think is really important and will be important for all the viewers that you know, watch this panel. But yes, any last words? Annam.
I am so, my last words, I am so grateful to everyone that I've worked with here, and I would love to work with you guys again. And I'm hoping to create more projects where, you know, we're giving you guys these opportunities. It was really good to hear the feedback about, you know, creating roles where your ethnicity is not your only identity. So you know, I feel like that's a responsibility that I have, and I'm going to continue to work with Asad, work with other filmmakers on figuring that out, creating more stories like that for you guys.
Ala, any last words?
I'm not good any last words. You know, I'm not a person who likes goodbyes, but because I enjoyed this conversation, enjoy seeing you all again. Like Annam said, I'm very grateful I worked with you all guys, and I honestly don't. I mean, speechless, because I see their faces and I'm just liking it. I think we just have to continue to uplift each other, just to continue to keep believing, you know, and just continue to tell the stories that we really need to tell, and just to fight hard. So, and just keep, like, you know, be there for each other. At least.
Shivani.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys for just having me and creating space for us to share all of our opinions and perspectives on you know, our respective experiences. This has been a journey, but also I'm really glad that I met you all on this journey, and that, you know, we'll be forever like tied to this experience. I think that's something that's so cool that we can look back on. And also just for, you know, Asad and Annam for giving us this platform to tell the story of aversion and to kind of create conversations there, but also to create this conversation that we're having right now that's so much bigger than all of us. So just thank you all, and I know that we'll all be able to connect again soon.
Thank you, NASA.
Oh yeah, I want to thank you guys for letting me speak today about this, and just recruiting me
NASA,
again.
the power came back on.
What? Oh, I turned on another light. I was like, it's getting really dark in here. Let me turn on the light.
Go on. I apologize.
I was just saying that I'm just really thankful. I'm thankful to be here, to speak on this, to work with you guys. I want to keep working together. And I think, you know, as far as like last words go, you guys know this about me, but I like to read a lot of self-help books, books, you know, inspirational books and books about success, you know, because we all need encouragement to keep going. And this book that I'm reading right now, it's called Grit by Angela Duckworth. Like she's a psychologist, and she did her research on success. And I just want to encourage you guys, you know, based on her research, she says that, you know, it's not talent that leads to success, but perseverance and passion. And if you have those two things, like that's what all these like wildly successful people that she studied, you know, Olympic gold medalists, filmmakers, Jeff Bezos, you know, just having perseverance and passion, that is what's going to help us break through in this industry. So like if we don't think we're the best, or our work isn't going as far as we want it to, or whatever, just remember that like the greatest people, the people that we aspire to be like, that's what they just keep persevering, and they're just passionate about the work, and eventually they will get to their destination. So just be encouraged that your hard work will pay off.
Thank you. And Rabinder.
First of all, thank you for ATLFF and Asad and Annam for doing this. I really, really appreciate being part of the projects that you have given me the pleasure to work with and to connect with so many people. Every time I meet people at the projects, I'm just thankful that I'm meeting people from different backgrounds, learning about different things. So it's a very different career path for me, and something that I've chosen. And like Naseem said, I believe in perseverance, passion, and of course, talent also has to be there. So, whatever I read self-help books and all that stuff, because I feel like at this point, I need it even more. Because there are times like we all have that you kind of, wonder where this is going, but it's going the right direction. We are trying to bring awareness. We are doing everything in our power. So that's all we can do. So thank you for everything.
Well, thank you so much to all of you, to all the panelists for being vulnerable, for putting your stories out there, for being very honest about it, because that's also not easy, right? It's being recorded, people will watch it. We think so much about what people may think, where will I get my next opportunity? And I thank you for that, because that allows for a more candid conversation, and one that's very genuine. So thank you. And then with that, I just want to thank all the viewers for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed our conversation, and please check out more films and creative conference events throughout the run of the festival. All right. Thank you, guys. Take care.